And I am with Luann Hanson, and she is running for House District 97. And this is the continuing series of conversations with the candidates. And Luann, you were just telling me a little bit about your district. And so tell me what the boundaries are. And, oh, I know, wait a minute. I wanted to start out with the census because I think it's really important, and you have a lot of data, and so we can get to your district in a minute, but tell us about the census, because it's really important.
Yeah, the census is really important. I call it the Montana 5-alarm fire. That's yes. my term. As you know, the census brings in our federal money. That's what our federal money is based on. And right now, this is according, I attended Mike Cooney's birthday party last night online, and that was a lot of fun. We were all doing our own thing. But one of the things that Mike was talking about is currently about 25% of our Montana population has not been yet contacted or been accounted for. And if you look at that, basically, that for every man, woman, and child who is not counted, it equates to $2,000 in federal money per year. And remember the census is every 10 years. So that equates to $20,000 then per person who's not counted today, or right now within the next month. We're gonna have to live with that number for the next 10 years. So, so 25%, if you do a simple Google search, it ends up being like 1.069 million. 1,069,000 people in the state right now. And if you take 25% of that, you get about 267,000 people that have not been yet contacted and accounted for. So our census workers have got their work cut out for them. They're working really hard. They're trying. I heard from a friend of mine who is out collecting data from people have been generally pretty responsive and really interested in it and are cooperating very well. So that 267,000 people, let's put a number to that. Right. So if you take that times 2,000, that's $534 million per year into our state budget in federal money. So 534 million. Well, then if you look at that over 10 years, just bump that up and a place, and that's a $5 billion. So that's what we're kind of short, $5 billion, over 10 years, that's a huge, huge impact.
That's a lot of infrastructure.
It is. It's roads, it's bridges, it's education, it's healthcare, it's all of that. We're going to be in big trouble if we don't get that number up. Right. Now, the other thing that happens is after...
Isn't that socialism?
Sorry. So it's the other thing that's going to happen is if we don't get that number up, and people counted, we're going to be risking losing. We don't have that second seat yet, but we're hopeful, based on what's happening in some of the other areas of the nation, that we're hopeful that we can get that second congressional seat. But with this, I don't know. I don't know if it's even possible. And the other interesting thing about this is that in Montana, because of our rural nature, about 25% of our people, they either have P.O. boxes at a post office, or they have a rural route box. Well, nobody lives in their boxes, and so the census has to go out to all of those people, and they have to actually contact them, because you can't do it in a post office box and respond that way. So that's something that's really, really important to know. We moved the needle a little bit in the last month, and or actually quite a bit, from about 57% about a month ago, to now about 75%, according to Mike Cooney last night.
It's really easy to do this census.
Right,
yeah.
It is. And if you go to 2020census.gov, that you can go online, you can get your password and whatever you need to get in there and answer the questions. It takes about 5-6 minutes to complete, but pretty easy. So 2020census.gov is where you would go with that. And they'll give you updates there too. I didn't check today, but yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Thank you for the PSA on the census.
Yeah.
It's a really important thing.
And it's also important to note too that Montana put about $500,000 into helping this, even though it's a federal census. We really want people to be counted. Yeah. So that's a pretty
Well, I think it's not only important for all the infrastructure issues, but we need another representative.
We do. We absolutely do.
This whole state is too big for one.
It is.
It is.
You know, back in the day, we did used to have an east and a west.
Yep.
And
we did.
And I don't remember what year that was. I just remember we had it.
You know, in the 90s, I think.
I think
like
it could
early
have been.
90s or.
I think it was before that too, maybe. Yeah. But yeah, we really do. We really do.
So tell me about your district. What are the boundaries? And tell me a little bit about the people that live in your district. We know a lot about the public lands and hell, all the issues. We know the issues are important to Democrats. I want you to tell me, because you're telling me a little bit about this.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
When you knock on doors and you visit with people, you find out more information than you do when you're making phone calls, and it's hard in this COVID time to campaign. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, the boundaries of the district, it's kind of crazy. People were like, why is it like this? And why is, well, you got to remember, it all goes back to our census, and it goes back to where are the people, where has the population shifted? Do we need to shift the boundary over here? Now it's over here. Then sometimes it ends up with renumbering. So right now, House District 97, that's the one that I'm running for, and I will be representing after November 2nd. So I'm really excited about that part. But anyway, I live in Lolo. I've lived in Lolo for 36 years. I was born here in Missoula. Down there where the old library is, well, that used to be a hospital, and that's where I was born. And so I'm not too far away from there. But 36 years in Lolo. And so the House District, we stay west of the Bitterroot River and go south of Lolo a little bit, maybe a couple miles in there. I don't even know if it's a couple miles, but somewhere in there. And then you head up Lolo Creek, just head up across, Carlton Ridge and up that way, and Lolo Creek, and to the pass, Lolo Pass. And then from there, go clear down Petty Creek. Just draw a line over to like I-90 and Petty Creek. And so it cuts across National Forest land and all of that. But it takes there's actually lots and lots of houses up there. In the last few years, there's been kind of an explosion of houses. And so Petty Creek, but not Alberton. So when you go out there that way, when you get off the interstate, off that off-ramp, you're in a different district. As soon as you cross under the interstate and come south, then there you are. So in between the river and then, of course, everything in there is ours. Now, so Petty Creek, now if you get back on the interstate and come back to town, none of that's really on the interstate. That's not our district. But you come all the way back to Elmar Estates. Out here on Mullen, Elmar Estates. Not just out on Mullen, but you got to go all the way to Elmar, and then that's in our district. Now, if you come back and you cross Kona Ranch Bridge, now you're back into our district. Now you're staying west of the Clark Fort, because that's at Clark Fort now. So you're staying west of the Clark Fort. Kona Ranch into Big Flat, into Blue Mountain, and now you're into, the Bitterroot River there, but stay west of it, keep staying west. Go all the way into Buckhouse Bridge. So Buckhouse Bridge, when you're on the other side of Buckhouse Bridge, you're in House District 97. When you cross it, you're in a different district. So then stay west and north of the Bitterroot River and go all the way out to Lolo, staying west of the river. There you go. That is our boundary. So it's a pretty big district. It's kind of, it has some goofy little things with it, but the people are amazing. I've been calling since the first part of April. I have a team of callers, and of course they do a great job. I have other volunteers that jump in once in a while and call, and I'm very thankful for those people. Because they're just, you know, they're good helpers. Oh my gosh, I could never get to everybody, even though I hope and I have these grandiose plans and I'm going to talk to every voter. My goal is to talk to every single voter who will talk to me. Now, some people don't want to talk to me, but a lot of people do talk to me on both sides of the aisle. So, I call. I've been calling and calling, hundreds of calls.
And some calls go on longer than others, right?
They do. And I know that my people that keep me
in line,
and you know who they are, the people that keep me in line and keep me going, like I'm the direction I'm supposed to be going, I'm sure they're just going like, oh my gosh, you just can't do this. But here's the deal. I'm a people person. I want to know what makes them tick. I want to know what their issues are, and I want their vote. I really do. I want their vote. And so if it takes an hour and 43 minutes to get their vote, that's me. I'm going to do it because there might be probably 2 votes in that house.
And then we're going to talk to some people who say, I'll talk to her first.
Exactly. I was saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's right. And how do you get people to vote for you? One vote at a time.
That's right.
You know, so, and I need a whole lot of votes, and I need votes not just from Democrats. I need the independents, I need the undecideds, and I need to pull over a few from across the aisle, and I think I'm being somewhat successful in doing that.
Well, tell me about the people that sell the soap.
Oh, yeah, okay, so,
And
yes.
finding them?
Yes. Oh my gosh. How much time do we have? Yesterday my husband drove me out to Alberton because I talked to some people out there, and they're fairly conservative people, very, very nice people. And they had told me, they said, and at that point I didn't really know if I had their vote or not, but they said, you are just really interested in it, and we're just so excited that you called us, and that you actually care about people that live 23, 25 minutes off the interstate, up Petty Creek. And so they said, we want you to come by and we want to give you some of our soaps. And so I said, well, now I'm going to be out there putting up signs in September. This was probably a month and a half ago when I talked to them. So I made sure that I put them on my, my list and to stop. And so I got signs delivered and talked to some other people, and I thought, heck, if I'm going to be driving, how long does it take to get up there? I'm going to go be knocking on doors. Yeah. So I did. But anyway, I talked to these people that make the soap. They have a wonderful place. It's way off the grid. It's on this little tiny road. None of our navigation didn't work. It was so. And I'll have to tell you the other story before how I found them.
Right.
Because I had to go to another house.
Oh, that's the little old lady with the chips?
Yes. Okay. The people that make the soap, they're pretty cool people, pretty quiet people, but they run a B&B. And they have a little TV, they have a yurt, and they have a lodge that they rent out. But they make these incredible soaps. They have their own goats, they use goat milk in it, and they use, it's just a phenomenal product. And they wanted to give me some, but I insisted on paying for it because they're in their 40s, and this is what they do for a living. And they live a very simple lifestyle up there. We got the grand tour of the property, sat down, and they were so excited that I had actually come up there. And my husband was there, we visited, and they just asked me some really interesting questions. I had my cart, my walk cart, and they says, oh, we don't have that one. We have a different cart. I didn't tell you this. We have another cart. And guess what? And we put it on our refrigerator.
Hmm.
So it's one of the cards that you guys are writing.
Oh, the postcards.
Yes!
Oh,
It's one of those cards! And they put it on the refrigerator. And for me, I was just melting because
oh, that's so cool.
because what do you put on your refrigerator? Important things, right?
Yeah.
You put
Pictures of
more
your kids.
pictures of your kids and your kids' artwork
Right.
and Luann's postcard. that you guys,
Wow.
so I want you to know, and I want anybody listening to this to know, that if you had a hand in writing postcards for me, you guys are absolutely amazing because I got to drive clear up.
I'm not gonna cry.
I know I'm not gonna cry, but it's really
Yeah,
cool. It's a
that
cool
is.
story.
Uh-huh.
So I gotta back up. I gotta tell you how I got there. So remember I said our navigation wasn't working.
Yeah.
And we're way up this little tiny road. And you're like, well, if somebody drives down this road, like what? How are we gonna go? I mean, we're in a truck, right? So anyway, we're going up, and I said, these numbers the numbers aren't working. Some people have numbers, some people don't. So there's this little house that sits down, below the road, and there's a driveway, and everything's dirt, rocks and dirt and everything. I see these two little dogs. I said, stop. I told my husband, I said, just stop. Stop in the middle of the road. I'm going to go down because I can't see any numbers. Well, as I got closer walking down to the house, talking to the dogs, I could see the numbers on the house. No, that wasn't the house I wanted. But I thought, you know what? I'm here. I'm here. I've taken this part of my day, so I better use it wisely, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did a campaign call with this lady. Turns out she grew up in Lolo,
Mm-hmm.
and it was pretty cool because she was so excited that I came. I mean, I kind of talked to her by accident because I was looking to try to find the people that I was going that had the soaps and B&B. And so I ended up visiting with her for quite a while. And turns out she's a Democrat, and she's a really interesting person. Just excited that I came to visit with her, and I gave her my card, and she's like, well, thank you. And then when we went, after we left, after an hour and something up at the soap place,
Right.
we drove back, and she was out there not too far from the road. She waved and waved.
And her place bordered.
Her place
where
bordered.
we
We
were
just had to go up one more place to see.
There's a lot of people that live off the grid in your district.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and another couple that I talked to, and they wanted a sign. They specifically asked for it. They're way up West Petty Creek Road. And that's another interesting place up there. You can't believe there's hundreds of homes up there. I mean, I haven't been up there for a while, and so it's just kind of exploded. But these people used to own a business in Missoula. They drove, I asked him, I said, you drove every single day? Yep, he and her drove every single day from clear up West Fork, the West Petty Creek road up there. And they drove down and into Missoula every day and home every night, which I cannot believe. And I said, well, what were the winters kind of like? She goes, oh yeah, it gets a little crazy, but nobody worries. It's Montana, so we don't worry too much about the snow, it'll be gone at some point. But just had wonderful conversations with these people, and like I said, the people that have B&B and the soap makers, they were just so impressed that a candidate would actually, first of all, call them, and second of all, would actually come to their house, kind of off the grid, and they were just blown away by that. And I told him, I said, well, here's one thing about me, and maybe it's my education background because I taught public school for 35 years. And
Did you teach in Lolo?
No, I never taught in Lolo. That's where I lived. My husband was the principal there for 13 years at the 5-8 school, But my years around here were all in Missoula.
Okay.
The 31 years of my 35 were here in Missoula.
What schools?
C.S. Porter Middle School.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
just right over here.
Yeah. And then back in '84, I taught at Sentinel High School too. So that was before unification, but 31 years here. And did 7th grade math and science. But maybe the reason I'm so interested in people is because that was my profession, was getting into people and helping people and
Right.
caring about people. You know, they always say, as a teacher, you need to understand, and I pass this on to my student teachers, people who are, you know, doing their work in my classroom, university students, and I always said, you know, kids don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that's really true. They don't care what you know. That doesn't matter until they know that you care. And that's the way I really approach life, and that's the way I certainly will approach, you know, the constituents in my district. You got to show them you care.
Being a representative for House District 97.
Yes. As I represent House District 97. But you know, on the phone, some interesting phone calls. Just talking to people, you know, you get somebody who's usually far right people don't want to really talk to me too much. Once in a while they will, and it's usually a short conversation. But leaders and people, when they figure out, you know, I'm a real moderate person. I think I'm a really good fit for that district because I am a moderate person, and I kind of understand where these guys are coming from. But it's interesting when they'll start out, you know, I usually vote, I'm a Republican, and I usually vote, you know, whatever. And I said, hey, that's okay. I want to talk to you. Let's talk. Let's talk about it.
Conversation.
And so I have to
and listen.
Yeah. You have to as a candidate.
Yeah.
You do a lot. I'm doing a lot of talking right now because I'm being interviewed. but you have to listen. You have to be able to listen. And when they
hear,
say, you're right. And you need to, even though sometimes you don't always agree with what they're saying, you need to understand and validate that, you know, they have a voice and they have a concern for whatever reason it is, and you need to listen to it. Another conversation that I had just in the last few days was with a woman whose husband is a physician here in Missoula in his specialty area. And if he doesn't work, he doesn't get paid. And when I talk about affordable health care with her, she says, I want you to understand what what it means for us. She does not work, she stays home with kids, he works long hours, and some days are a little bit shorter depending on who's in and who's out, but he doesn't get paid anything if he's not working at all. And so she talked about how private pay patients, you know, he's going to get more money out of private pay patients that he serves than he will with like Medicaid or CHIP or whatever. And so her concern is, if we were to go to something like that, what would that mean for their income? Would it be cut down? So, and I had other people talk to me about that too, business owners. I've talked to a lot of business owners, and they're also concerned because for a lot of these business owners, their profit margin isn't that great. They're, in addition to getting skilled labor in their job, their business that can come in and are willing to work and have work ethic and all of that, they're worried about, I don't think that they're so opposed to paying for healthcare for their, you know, and helping support that, but the cost of it for them is so great. And so we really have a lot of work to do to try to make it affordable for the consumer and make sure people are covered. This is a balance. I don't have all the answers, but all I know is that we need to make it affordable for consumers, we need to make it also a doable thing for small businesses. Now, when I talk about business owners, I'm talking about the small businesses around here. And our, Montana, they are the backbone. These small businesses are the backbone of our economy. They're really the drivers of that. And we need to make sure we're cognizant of that and make sure that we're willing to, work so that they're able to afford it too. What is the balance in there? So that's something that
Healthcare is probably the biggest issue.
it is, and then housing too.
Yeah.
Housing, and we're making some gains locally, on that front. But man, it's tough with people making $10, $11 an hour and expected to afford, without putting 4 or 5 people in a house. And that's what they're doing is smaller houses, and they're just putting people in. So yeah.
Well, what have you told me that you want to include in our conversation?
Wow.
I think we've covered a lot of territory.
We really did. We really did. We talk about public lands and stuff. I mean, I'm really genuinely concerned about public education, and I was an educator, like I said, for 35 years, and I'm really worried about funding and making sure we got to get the right people elected, because if we don't, this isn't going to be good. There's nothing good that is really going to come out of this. Okay, so public education needs to be adequately funded. And in addition to that, we've got pre-K that we're talking about. And I think we're going to probably see a pre-K bill or bills that will be presented in the 2021 legislative session. Now, yes, that's going to cost money. Up front, it's going to be, it is no bones about it. It's going to cost some money. I don't think anybody's in denial about that. But the benefits of pre-K, childcare, and I hate to say use education as a babysitter and infer that, because I don't like that. No. Isn't it? As a former educator, I don't like that.
Right.
But the reality is for these pre-K kids, right now, childcare is a really big issue in everywhere, but especially here. Yeah. People can't get it. I'm on Facebook all day long. You see people, hey, I got to go back to work, or I'm going back on, I don't know what to do, and I got a 4-year-old, that in itself can help solve some of the childcare issues. It's not just childcare. It's focused. There's playtime and all that kind of stuff and fun group time, but there are skills that can be worked on. Now
not only skills, but there's also when kids have special needs.
Exactly.
And the preschool teachers see those issues, and they can tell the parents when the parents don't think there's anything wrong, and because that's been my experience. And then you find out that you've got to get that kid some help, and then that follows them. The IEPs follow them all through school
and through college. Through college.
That's really, really important.
Right, and they have. And I know this is not certainly a substitute for pre-K, that they have Childline, and you can take your kids in from birth to preschool, or those kids. And you can take them in and they'll do some little tests and things on them and see that, they're doing okay. But that teacher that is with them, part of the day or all day, they so choose, is going to see other things and are trained in that kind of stuff. So the benefits are not just childcare, but these kids are going to be better ready. More ready to go into kindergarten. We also know that these kids are going to have decreased criminal activity later on. They're getting in trouble with the law or in school. They're also more likely to graduate. They're also more likely to go on into a career that pays a little more than $10 an hour.
Right.
And so those are all things that are really important. So pre-K is a big deal. Yes, it's going to be costly, but it's
Well, I'll
something
be
we really
in
need.
there with the fight with you, because that's my big issue is pre-K.
Yeah.
So, well, I really appreciate you coming in, Luann,
Yeah,
and I could talk with you all day.
I know.